Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Ashley Salvador, City Councillor for Ward Métis, which is where we're located today. And I'd like to begin by acknowledging that the traditional land on which we are gathered today is Treaty 6 territory. We'd like to thank the diverse Indigenous peoples whose ancestors' footsteps have marked this territory for centuries, such as the Cree, Dene, Saulteaux, Nakota Sioux, and Blackfoot peoples. We also acknowledge this as the Métis homeland and the home of the largest concentration of Inuit south of the 60th parallel. It is a welcoming place for all peoples who come from around the world to call Edmonton home. Together, we call upon all of our collective honored traditions and spirits to work together in building a great city for today and for future generations. Thank you so much for joining us this morning for such an inspiring story of community collaboration. I'm joined this morning by Randy Boissonnault, Federal Minister of Employment, Workforce Development and Official Languages, Mayor Amarjeet Sohi, and Marisa Redmond, Executive Director for Right at Home Housing Society. As councillor for this ward, I'm continually inspired by how Edmontonians find ways to welcome others. In this case, a congregation that gathered every week saw an opportunity to use their land to help others, and were able to bring together community-minded partners to make this project a reality. This is the Edmonton that I know and love, and it's heartening to see such meaningful collaboration in action. We know that the need for housing is incredibly high here in Edmonton, and projects like this one will help to provide safe, affordable homes for those who need them. This is also an example of what we can do when all levels of government come together towards a common cause. Now, I'd like to invite Minister Boissonnault to share his remarks on behalf of the Government of Canada.
Well, thank you very much, Councillor Salvador. Ashley, Mayor Sohi, thank you for joining us today. And Marisa, thank you for all of the work that you have done to get us here to this day. I want to acknowledge that we are on Treaty 6 territory and the homelands of the Métis Nation of Alberta. And I want to tell a story because we talk a lot about the work that different communities that have come to Canada have done for our communities. And in the 50s, waves of German newcomers came to Edmonton. And they built this church in their faith, the Lutheran faith. And they built this church with their very hands. And in 2019 was the last time that the congregation actually met here as a congregation. But as they saw their congregation evolving, they wanted the spirit of this place, the spirit of their ancestors, and the core of their faith to continue. And Gordon Freund is here from that council, from that congregation, and he has worked with Right at Home since 2019 to get to where we are today. And if you know a little bit of German, you know that Freund means friend. And so Gordon and the congregation are true friends to the people who will call this place home. So Gordon, on behalf of the Government of Canada, thank you to you, your council, and your congregation for your leadership and your vision to getting us here today. We really appreciate it. I met, and Amarjeet and Ashley and Marisa and I met two of the workers who are working in the space just below, Mike and Katie. They were surprised to see a bunch of suits come up and say hi. And I said, look, I'm the Minister of Jobs, and I'm glad you both have good ones. And did you know that we're building 4 million more homes like this across the country? And they said, really? I said, yes. They said, then we're going to have work for a long time. I said, yes, you will. And that's why we're here today. It's about providing homes to people who need them, deeply affordable homes, social homes, and doing so in a space of community that's going to bind people here together in the King Edward Park area in a way that hasn't been done for quite some time. Now, why do we need to build more homes? Well, because we're a growing country. We're a growing city. We're a growing population. And we want to lower costs. And let me give you just the numbers, because I think the numbers here really matter. Based on the Rapid Housing Initiative, the units that we saw today will be available to a family, and I'm talking with like 2, 3, 4, 5 kids, and the mom and dad, or whatever the combination is, and their kids will be able to be in one of these apartments, one of these homes, for $550 a month. That is deeply affordable. That is how you can actually make sure that a family can get on its feet. And why are we building these homes across the country? To remain competitive, to put more Canadians to work, and to house all the newcomers and the people who need our help now, who have been struggling because of shocks to their own lives. Donc, aujourd'hui, chers amis, nous annonçons 9,2 millions de dollars de fonds fédéraux dans 2 projets, ici même à Edmonton, qui permettront de créer 138 unités de logement dans la ville. Today, the Government of Canada is investing $9.2 million in federal money in 2 projects right here in Edmonton that are going to create 138 housing units across town. And these aren't your ordinary run-of-the-mill homes either. As I've said, affordable homes, the kind are going to make a difference to the lives of Edmontonians who are struggling to get by, folks who just need a little bit more help to get a roof over their heads, and that's what they're delivering. Now, to the 2 projects, one is building right here where we're standing, St. Paul's Legacy Permanent Supportive Housing. We'll receive $2.8 million to build 11 homes right here on this parcel, and we discussed how we got to this point today, and it's going to provide a mix of units suitable for individuals or families with low incomes right here in our city. It's also providing a flexible community space that can be used by residents and community groups, and that is going to be designed to bring the King Edward Community Park together. It's not all we're doing, though. We're announcing $6.4 million in federal funding today, additional funding to the Métis Capital Housing Corporation here in Edmonton. Why? To provide 127 transitional homes to those most need in the city. This includes women and children who just need a safe place to live. Partie de l'annonce aujourd'hui, une partie importante, c'est 6,4 millions de dollars d'investissement supplémentaire pour la coopération métisse Capital Housing ici à Edmonton, et ça va créer 127 différents foyers de transition pour les femmes et leurs enfants. And these units are signed, sealed, and delivered to our partners, the City of Edmonton, and right at home, by programs that Pierre Poilievre said he will cut, by programs that his own MPs, including Michael Cooper in St. Albert, Edmonton, went behind his leader's back to make sure that we kept in place. My friends, we need the Rapid Housing Initiative. We need the Affordable Housing Fund. Because do you know what the mix is in Europe for housing? It's about 50-50. What do I mean by that? 50% private, 50% social and affordable. Do you know where we are in Canada? 80-20, tilted to the private sector. We need a better balance. We need a better balance of affordable and social housing, and our government is working with administrations like Mayor Sohi's to make that happen across the country. And what Pierre Poilievre wants to do is take that money out and take the ability of municipalities to permit and accelerate housing. Look, when I was just getting involved in politics, we used to measure housing not in months or weeks, but literally in 5- and 10-year chunks. That is not good enough anymore, and we are building homes at a pace that we haven't seen since the Second World War, since the post-war boom, because we need to, because people deserve a roof over their heads. Now, look, Pierre Poilievre did build 6 homes when he was housing minister, but that's not 4 million, and that's what we're going to be building. And I also have to say that as we wait for the regulations that are going to come from the provincial government with respect to Bill 18 and how federal money is going to flow to the province, projects like this are at risk. Will Danielle Smith fund this project? Will her new Minister of Red Tape, responsible for federal money, fund this project? It's a question you should be asking your MLAs and your provincial government, because those regulations are going to come in the new year. So I want to congratulate Mayor Sohi. I want to congratulate Councillor Salvador and your colleagues for getting us here to this point today, because, my friends, housing is a right. It's part of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We need people to have a house, a home over, a roof over their heads, because in a country as wealthy as Canada, in a city with all the advantages that we have here in Edmonton, we can do this. We can end homelessness, we can get people a roof over their head, and we can grow. And just before I close, because I've been saying this in Ottawa a lot, and I want people here to know, and I was in Jasper yesterday as ministerial lead for Jasper, and you can understand that the housing needs there are acute because of the fire, and we're going to work on that with the province. But let me share with you what Edmonton is doing. Our city is 2.5% of the country's population. Do you know what percentage our housing starts represent of the whole country's housing starts? 6.5%. We're on track to just about double this year. We will have a good year next year. And what Edmonton is doing is grabbing the attention of the rest of the country. And so, Gordon, thank you for the leadership of your community. Marisa, thank you for doing all this work since 2019. And I know that the people who move here are going to realize that they have friends and that their community and our city and our country care about them. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
Well, thank you so much, Minister. I'd now like to welcome Mayor Amarjeet Sohi up to share some remarks.
Thank you, Ashley. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Also want to start by acknowledging that we are gathered here on Treaty 6 territory, and want to thank each and every one of you for your work in advancing this very, very important project that will provide a place to call home for 11 families. It's a remarkable achievement and much needed work that we need to continue to do together. I also want to extend my gratitude to Gordon and your congregation, Gord. This really speaks to who we are as Edmontonians, how we embrace each other, how we embrace our community, and how we step up to help those who struggle in our community. So thank you so much. Please do convey our deepest appreciation to the rest of your group, because we do deeply appreciate the way you work with Right at Home Society to make this project a reality. And also, Marisa, thank you so much for your leadership and your group's leadership. These partnerships are not possible without community organizations coming together and organizing and bringing those proposals together for governments to consider and community to consider. So thank you for your leadership as well. And also, Randy, thank you so much for your leadership on this and many other files. You have been a true champion for Edmonton. There's an ongoing joke between Randy and I that whenever I see him, I have a pen in my pocket, which I don't actually today, and I ask for a check. Say, can you sign this check so we can do this project, right? And he's been pretty generous in advocating on behalf of this. And also, thank you so much for taking the leadership role as Alberta's minister on rebuilding Jasper. That community is very close and near dear to Edmontonians' hearts, and the way you have stepped up to provide that leadership, we really appreciate that. So, and also want to acknowledge my colleague Ashley Salvador, who represents this area, a huge champion for many things, including affordable housing. And so, Ashley, thank you so much for that leadership. You heard from Randy about the lack of the balance or imbalance of market housing and non-market housing. I would say in Edmonton, that situation is actually worse than the national levels. In Edmonton, we have one social housing unit per 28 other units. That's pretty deep, steep, gap that we need to meet. Also, we have close to 49,000 households who are living in core housing need in our city, and many of them actually struggle on our streets, and many of them are actually Indigenous Edmontonians as well. So there's an intersection of affordability, intersection of intergenerational trauma, intersectional of racism and marginalization that people have faced over the decades and centuries, and the ramifications of those on people's well-being. So so projects like this not only allow us to create jobs, as Randy has mentioned, and put people to work, but they actually build people's capacity to contribute to the economy. When people have a safe place to call home, their stress level is low. They're able to actually think about other things other than daily struggles. And when they do that, people contribute, not only for their own well-being, for their own success, but they also make society a better place. I think that is the remarkable thing about these investments. These 11 families who are going to call home here, these units are going their lives will be transformed. And when we transform their lives, we actually transform our community in many, many, many ways. I also want to highlight how our city council over the last 3 years has been changing and shifting the conversation. In the past, we have been probably the third or the fourth partner to step up. I think what this project illustrates is a new approach. We created Edmonton's Housing Investment Fund during 2023 to 2026 budget process. It is $18 million that we allocate every year. Because we had that money up front, we were able to allocate close to $1 million for the Right at Home Society. So that initial funding, they were able to use that funding to do some of the planning work and then approach the provincial government for funding. And I'm very appreciative of Minister Nixon that his department stepped up to provide support for this project. Then that enabled Randy and the federal government to step up for $2.4 million. So it's like, I think this is the right approach we need to take as community organization, as a local government. If we are the first one to step up, we can empower community to take that money and leverage that money with not only community resources, community assets, but other levels of government. So that $1 that we invest in housing actually end up generating $5 to $6 from other partners, and that is help us build more homes. And that is the shift that I am very appreciative that our council has been able to do so. I know we're going through some very difficult times, but we want to retain that investment. Ashley and I and my colleagues are going to work hard that we navigate these very difficult financial challenges that we have. We minimize tax increases, but at the same time, we will not stop investing in people. We would not stop investing in affordable housing. We would not stop investing in economic growth opportunities and unlocking people's potential, because we see the difference each and every day those investments are making. So thank you to each and every one of you for joining us here today. I want to thank our city staff for their work, because they work very closely with community organizations to make this project and many other projects reality. So that is from me. Thank you so much once again to each and every one of you. I look forward to actually coming back and meeting some of those families once they move in. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Mayor Sohi. And now Marisa Redmond will talk a little bit about how this project came to be and what it will mean for the families who will live here. Marisa?
Thank you, Councillor Salvador. I again would like to acknowledge that we are on Treaty 6 territory today. Thank you for providing me with the opportunity to speak today and share the history of the building that we've gathered in. St. Paul's Lutheran Church traces its roots back to 1951 when German immigrants, gathering to hold church services, came together and pooled their talent and labor to construct the church, which was completed in 1955. Over the years, the membership decreased its activities and realized that the church held the potential to serve a new and meaningful purpose and continue to honor the history and sacred tradition of the building. From this vision, a partnership with Right at Home Housing Society was formed, with the goal to build affordable housing. The St. Paul's congregation gifted this property to Right at Home Housing Society with plans to develop a community space in addition to affordable housing that will connect neighbors by creating beautiful gathering spaces. This project includes 11 units of affordable housing, consisting of 7 one-bedroom units, 2 of which are accessible, 2 two-bedroom units, and 2 four-bedroom units. Today, our organization has 738 housing units. These house over 1,000 Edmontonians. In addition, we have a waiting list for our buildings that exceeds 1,200 individuals and families. We are excited to be the recipients of this funding to build more new homes in Alberta. And having received this funding, we understand the positive impact that it can make. We believe that all people have a right to housing, and that good housing contributes to the health and safety of individuals, families, and communities. Thank you, Gordon, to you and the congregation at St. Paul's Lutheran Church for making this project happen. Thank you to the city and the federal ministers. We truly appreciate everything. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Marisa. So at this time, just want to thank everyone for joining us today. We are going to be having a group photo, but before that, there will be an opportunity for media to ask questions. So we'll have some help with moderation, but we'll take some questions at this time. Thank you so much, everyone.
Bonjour. Juste un instant, just a moment, please. We're going to move on to the question period now. Nous allons passer à la période des questions. Une question et un suivi par média, one question and one follow-up per media. And please be sure to introduce yourself with your name and your outlet beforehand. S'il vous plaît, vous vous introduire avec votre nom et votre média avant de poser votre question. Merci beaucoup.
So let's separate those two things. At no time did I indicate to former business partner any status or any identity respecting federal contracts, because I was not involved in any federal contracts while I was in business, because that would have been inappropriate. Mr. Anderson should never have claimed that on the particular contract application, and no contract was awarded. And Wallace, I really appreciate you asking me the question about my family and my history. I've been reflecting on this a lot over the past days, and I was adopted into an Indigenous family, and I have never claimed Indigenous status. I joined Indigenous Caucus because I was representing many Indigenous people in our community and many Indigenous Albertans, and I felt it was very important to be an ally to Indigenous peoples in our city and in our province. I sought out advice to know how to talk about my family when I was running, and I want to say unequivocally that I apologize for not being as clear about my family history as I could have been with everything that I know now. And I apologize unequivocally, and I'll end it there.
Just as a follow-up, you mentioned how do you justify allowing some of that space, which is one itself as a
So at the time, and look, if you, I would refer you to Jaime Baptiste, who's very clear that Indigenous Caucus is open to Indigenous MPs and allies. And it was in that spirit of allyship that I attended Indigenous Caucus throughout my first mandate. It has not been possible for me to attend since I've been a minister, but I remain a staunch ally and advocate for Indigenous peoples. I mean, Amarjeet and I worked very hard to make sure that we got the Boyle Street, the King Thunderbird Center delivered to our community. I will continue to be an ally for Indigenous peoples. And Wallace, I'll say it again, I apologize that I wasn't as clear as I could have been about who I am and my family's history, and I apologize for that today. Hi, Lisa.
You say that you never claimed to be Indigenous. Why did you refer to the first few as being press conferences and within the Indigenous Caucus? And why did you correct them?
So I did correct the party. I asked them to change that. They did change it, and I mean, this is it was a constant back and forth with the party. I did ask them to change it. I did see them change it. I never asked the party to refer to me as an Indigenous person. I never clicked any box in any form with the Liberal Party of that. I have never put Indigenous claim to any contract or any application in my entire life.
When exactly?
As soon as I realized that I was on that list, we called the party and said, look, that's inappropriate. Please take me off the list. I mean, I'm part of an Indigenous family, but I never claimed Indigenous status myself, and I was clear with the party at the time.
Just speaking of Minister Baptiste,
Sure.
having this public conversation, which do you see a harm in
Absolutely. And I think that should not happen. That's why I never did it. And I'm learning about my family in real time. I'm learning about my family lore. And I take my responsibility as an MP and a minister very seriously. And that means representing people. And the reason that the reason I sought out a way to refer to myself when I was running was so that I could do so in a sensitive and respectful manner. And I apologize if that particular way of referring to myself, I apologize that it was inaccurate, and I'm learning more things about my family and my history. And look, I'm going to continue this journey, and I will share this journey with Canadians as I continue down that path. Oui, Marc.
I'm going to ask you in French.
Oui, absolument.
Certains auteurs et personnes comme le Code autochtone demandent de quitter le Code autochtone. Est-ce que vous allez faire?
Mais ça fait depuis le premier mandat que je ne faisais pas partie du caucus. Quand on commence à avoir des fonctions de ministre, on a moins d'heures dans la semaine. Et donc, quand le caucus m'invite à siéger, j'y vais. Monsieur Baptiste, le député, le président du caucus, m'a convoqué plusieurs fois devant mes collègues, mais je n'ai pas assisté depuis que je suis devenu ministre. Et permettez-moi de dire en français ce que j'ai dit en anglais. J'ai été adopté dans une famille autochtone. J'ai jamais réclamé un statut autochtone. Et la raison pour laquelle j'ai fait partie du caucus autochtone, qui était ouvert aux alliés à l'époque, et c'est toujours le cas maintenant, c'était parce qu'on a un grand pourcentage de mes commettants qui sont des personnes autochtones, et on a un grand pourcentage des Albertains qui sont autochtones, et j'ai trouvé que c'était très important. Je m'excuse pour la façon que je me suis référé, et je suis en apprentissage de mon propre patrimoine, et je vais continuer ce voyage avec les Canadiens.
Dans un article du National Post, les chercheurs autochtones que vous avez consultés, qui vous avez qualifiés
Oui.
qui adopté sans statut,
Oui.
affirment qu'ils n'ont jamais dit cela. Pourquoi est-ce que vous avez dit ça?
Je pense que quand moi j'ai quitté la rencontre avec ce chercheur qui était candidat pour son doctorat à l'époque, c'est ma compréhension. Et aujourd'hui, je suis ici pour donner mes excuses que si le descripteur, le terme que j'ai utilisé, n'était pas complètement précis. Et donc, je vais être très précis dans le futur et je donne mes excuses à tous les peuples autochtones et les Canadiens et Canadiennes. Oui, Sébastien. Du tout. Je ne l'ai jamais clamé, je ne l'ai jamais réclamé et ça aurait été inapproprié de le faire. Je vous donne un exemple. Quand j'étais en affaires, j'ai passé le processus de me faire certifier comme entreprise LGBTQ2. Il y a un organisme à tierce partie qui fait cette certification. Mon entreprise a passé ce statut et donc l'entreprise à l'époque était capable d'indiquer une provenance 100% LGBTQ2. J'ai jamais fait ce processus par les organismes autochtones parce que moi, je n'ai jamais réclamé un statut et je n'en avais pas. Donc, il n'y avait pas de bénéfice et je ne l'ai jamais réclamé dans un contrat.
Est-ce qu'il ne faudrait pas pour vous aujourd'hui démissionner plutôt plus? Est-ce que vous ne regrettez pas de l'avoir fait précédemment dans le Parti libéral, c'est bien que moi, vous étiez
Il y a une différence entre le parti, et j'ai corrigé le parti qui m'a mis sur la liste, je me suis retiré de cette liste. En ce qui concerne le caucus autochtone, je siégeais là quand j'étais un député entre 2015 et 2019. Je ne siégeais pas comme membre régulier depuis que je suis devenu ministre, et je continue à être allié aux peuples autochtones. Je ne suis pas membre du caucus pour le moment. On ne s'adhère pas, on est capable d'assister à des rencontres ponctuellement et je ne suis pas un membre régulier. Je n'ai pas assisté comme membre régulier depuis que je suis devenu ministre.
Désolé, juste une question suivie par média, s'il te plaît. One question, one follow-up for media.
Sure, so I'm not a member of the Indigenous caucus now, so there's nothing to quit.
When did you quit the Indigenous caucus?
So it's not a join or quit. You attend meetings as you're able to, And so I was a regular member from 2015 to 2019. I lost an election, and then I came back in 2021 and was named minister. And so I haven't been a regular member of Indigenous Caucus since I've been minister. Hi, Jackie.
Can you clarify statements you made to Parliament about your adopted great-grandmother, Lucy Plenay? You have at multiple times said she was a full-blooded Cree woman. Do you stand by that statement, or has your understanding of her heritage changed?
So this was my understanding of my great-grandmother Lucy Plenay growing up. It's like, Jackie, you could think about it like family lore, and I am learning about my family's heritage in real time. And so I apologize if I haven't been clear. And I could have been clearer about my family's heritage, but I'm learning a lot more about that heritage, and so I'll be very clear about how I refer to my family and myself moving forward.
And so your great-grandmother, Lucy Plenay, is she full-blooded Cree?
I'm not going to be able to share my great-grandmother's lineage or heritage today. What I'm saying is I understood that to be the case growing up, well into my 40s and 50s, and I'm understanding more about the family now, and I'll be clear about the family's history and my own evolution in this space as I move forward.
Sorry, only one follow-up, please, ma'am.
I'm sorry, just...
Un suivi par média, only one follow-up, please.
Okay, so my follow-up is...
You already had one follow-up, ma'am. We're going to have to move on to the next question.
Is your great-grandmother Métis?
My great-grandmother's status, I'll have to confirm that with the Métis Nation of Alberta, but my mother and my brother are now citizens of the Métis Nation of Alberta. Bring it on. Yeah. Nope.
Before that, but just this week, Minister Nixon said that bill brought the federal government to the table to sit down and work on housing, funding housing projects. How would you respond to that claim?
I would dispute that claim, and I would say that I have been in meetings with Minister Nixon, with Minister Sohi, with Mayor Sohi, with Minister Fraser and Chief Cody Thomas well before the idea of Bill 18 was formulated. Look, we've always said to the province, if you want to do a deal like we've done with BC, with Build BC, or you want to do, which was $2 billion, right? $1 billion from us, $1 billion from them. Or if you want to do a deal like we've done with the Quebec government, which is $900 million, we're ready to play ball. And we're still waiting to see that particular sit down. My concern is a project like this gets stuck in red tape in Alberta, right? Like, I deal with this, my colleagues deal with this as a minister in Quebec that's had this model for a long time, and community-based projects simply don't get funded. The province will make a different decision than the federal government, and it's small organizations. I have deep concern for research institutes, for universities, for tech institutes, for nonprofits, for 2S LGBTQ organizations. Go down the list of organizations that might not fit into the UCP ideology. Are they going to get funding when the money from the feds goes to that federal funding redistribution center and then gets farmed out according to UCP policies? Just look at what they discussed at their Red Deer meeting. That's pretty much a playbook for where the money's going to go, folks. So I think we need to stand up and let the province know that they need to back away from this law, because it's going to take money out of our communities, and it's going to stop Gordon and communities like Gordon's from building great places like this.
Est-ce qu'il y a d'autres questions? Any other questions from people that have not spoken yet? Ceci met fin à la période des questions et à la conférence de presse. This puts an end to the question period and today's press conference. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
Okay. Photo.